Purchase this book over in the cafeteria. I Am Potential. 8 lessons on living, loving, and reaching your dreams. Patrick Henry Hughes. Please welcome Patrick Henry Hughes. And his father. Guys, right here.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you this morning. Before we get started, though, why don't you say we have a round of applause for the presentations by Archbishop Kurtz and Father Martin. How about that? Those were great, right? Well, it's great to be with you this morning. My name is Patrick Henry Hughes. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and this is my father, Patrick John Hughes.
Good morning, everyone. I've got to tell you, thank you very much. Patrick, we started out with a standing ovation, so we've got a lot of high expectations, I think.
Yeah, maybe I think it's a good idea to just quit while we're ahead.
We should stop early, send everybody over to the gym for food and coffee, right?
Sounds good to me.
It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you all this morning to share this wonderful day. I'd love to thank David Such for inviting us and the committee that put this men's conference together. All of you all know we are from Louisville, Kentucky, I hope. My son and I. It's Patrick and I that get most of the TV time, but I always like to give a shout out wherever Patrick and I go around the United States or even around the world when we're invited to travel and speak. I have 2 other sons, my wife and I. God bless her, we celebrated our 27th anniversary yesterday, so a shout out to her for that. We have 2 other sons. Our second son, Patrick, is our oldest. Our second son, Jesse, is 23 years old, and he is also a University of Louisville graduate and is a golf pro at Wildwood Country Club here in Louisville. My youngest son, Cameron, is 18, and he is a freshman chemical engineering student at the Speed School. So very proud of all 3 of my sons. God has blessed me richly with 3 wonderful children. They're all way better than I was as a kid, so thank God for that. Anyway, Jesse and Cameron, they don't think they have much to do with what makes Patrick and I work and our abilities to travel and speak. But I tell them all the time, if you were the kind of student I was, I'd be busy attending parent-teacher conferences rather than being able to share our stories. So it really is our family dynamic that I fully believe God has put together that makes Patrick and I able to do what we do. So that's a little background on our family. What we're going to get started with this morning is, everybody knows Patrick plays a little piano? Yes? So we thought we would start this morning with a song Patrick would like to play for you guys. So are you ready, buddy?
If everyone else is ready, would you like some music to start this off? Okay, I'd like to start off with a song that's very special to me and one that I really enjoy because it talks a lot about realizing and achieving your dreams. It's by Elvis Presley, but it's not Hound Dog. It's called If I Can Dream. There must be lights burning brighter somewhere. Got to be birds flying higher in a sky more blue. If I can dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand, tell me why, oh why can't my dreams come true? Oh yeah, there must be peace and understanding sometimes. Strong winds of promise that'll blow blow away every doubt and fear. If I can dream of a warmer sun that shines a light on everyone, tell me why, oh why won't that sun appear? We're trapped in a cloud with too much rain. We're lost in a world that's troubled with pain. But as long as a man has the strength to dream, he can redeem his soul and fly. Deep in my heart, there's a burning question. Still, I am sure that the answer's gonna come somehow out there in the dark. There's a beckoning candle, and while I can think, while I can talk, while I can stand, while I can walk, while I can dream, please make my dreams come true. Right now. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hugh Russell.
So that's just a sample of the different music that I do. I do music from pretty much country, rock, jazz, pop, show tunes. You name it, I probably do something from that genre. But I also study classical music with a lady who is a Juilliard graduate who teaches here in Louisville. So wherever I go, I always like to do a little something classical. So would you like to hear some classical this morning? Okay, this is a song that I think is very fitting, especially as we've just started spring. A couple of days ago, I think, was officially the start of spring. So this is a little song kind of about spring. It's by a composer named Christian Sinding, and it's called The Rustles of Spring.
tell, my wife and I have spent a lifetime trying to bring Patrick out of his shell. He's been an absolute pleasure to call my son all these years, no doubt about it. Patrick was born March 10th, 1988. My wife had a picture-perfect pregnancy. She takes excellent care of herself. As a matter of fact, this morning she's running in the Papa John's 10-miler, so she loves to do that sort of stuff. When she was pregnant with Patrick all those years ago, no drugs, no alcohol, no tobacco. She gave all that up for 9 months, and I'm just kidding. Anyway, the night Patrick was born, I fully expected the doctors to say, "You're the proud parents of a healthy baby boy." That's in my 26-year-old young male mind was what I expected would happen in the delivery room. Patrick would come into this world, and everything would just be peachy, just like my life had been. But God, we make plans and God smiles, right? God laughs. He has different plans in mind for us. One of the things I had, I imagined for my first son would be that Patrick would come into this world, and I knew I wasn't good with babies. I was the youngest in my family, had never been around babies, but I knew as soon as Patrick and I could bounce the ball back and forth, and we could do those sorts of things that fathers and sons and mothers and daughters too, and everybody loves to do. As soon as we could do those things, then I'd be the best dad ever. My son would grow up and he'd get that ESPN highlight, and he'd be on a football field at a large university. But Patrick came into the world on March the 10th, 1988, and a lot of dreams I had for my son died that day, including Patrick ever being on a football field at a large university. But we all know God can do amazing things. My faith was shattered to the bone when Patrick was born, and the doctors told us all the things that were wrong with our son. Our son was born without eyes, something called bilateral anophthalmia. Patrick's eyes didn't grow, so he's never seen the light of day or the dark of night or any of those sorts of things. Somebody once told me, I'll never forget it, they said, the first thing Patrick will ever see is the face of Jesus. But anyway, Patrick was born without eyes. He has glass eyes, like Sammy Davis Jr., I think, had one of them. Patrick's got two. We thought about using him as a Halloween prop one year and, having him pull them out and scare little kids on the front porch, but we thought better. Anyway, they do come in and out for cleaning once a day. It sounds awful, but it's like taking a contact lens out and washing it and putting it back in. Anyway, he was also born with something called bilateral anophthalmia. With pterygium syndrome, and that is something that Patrick can't extend his arms 180 degrees or his legs. Now, while he can use his feet to operate the pedals on the piano or to help assist him getting in and out of his wheelchair to bed or wherever, his legs, like his arms, are always confined to this 90-degree angle. So he's always in this seated position, which makes him a user of a wheelchair for mobility. So these are the things we're learning about our son on the night he's born. And my wife and I are devastated. We cry ourselves to sleep for weeks, and we ask God, why us? What did we do? We play by all the rules. We're people of faith. What did we do that this would happen to us? But eventually, after a few weeks, of course, we loved Patrick. He's our baby. We love him. We know there's going to be it's a path we hadn't planned on, and there's going to be a lot of hurdles and obstacles that we had no idea how to tackle. But we love our son, and after a few weeks of splashing around in the pity pool, we said, well, wait a minute. Why not us? Think of all of the things we can give this baby, just like we had planned on giving him before he came into this world the way he was. We'll keep our faith, and we will walk with God in whatever journey God has planned for us. We'll tackle it head on. We won't shy away from the challenges and the obstacles that are going to come with this young man. And keep in mind, he's just an infant. We have no idea how he's going to develop. We know he'll never see. We know he'll never walk. We know there'll be issues with his arms. And who knows what else might not be the way we had planned about our son. But we realized the worst thing we could do was give up before we even got started. So we set about raising Patrick. We took him out in public, and we got lots of stares and lots of comments, and little kids are the best. They're the most curious and the most open with their questions, which is actually welcoming, because I loved it when people came up and asked questions about Patrick that I could answer. It's the ones that whispered behind our backs and pointed as we walked away and all those sorts of things were the most troubling. But We set about raising Patrick to be the best that Patrick could be. What was Patrick's potential? We didn't know. But my wife, and she's got a statement in our book that she says, whatever Patrick's potential is, whatever God has planned for Patrick, he is going to be the best at being what that is, whatever it is, and we just have to work and find out what it is. So we set about raising Patrick. The Patrick people always ask me, how did Patrick come to play piano? Now, a lot of people think I'm a music major, I can play piano, so I've got a blind son, immediately the Stevie Wonder, the Ray Charles, the Ronnie Millsap, I'm going to make this kid play piano. Nothing was further from the truth. I wanted to make him a star on a football field at a large university, which as many of you all know, Patrick did become a star on a football field at a large university, right? So God can make our God can make our dreams come true in ways we can never imagine. Never imagine. I wanted an ESPN highlight. I wanted 10 seconds of Patrick doing something on ESPN and getting that da-da-da, da-da-da. He gets a 7-minute feature on College Game Day on December 2nd, 2006. So we have an amazing God who can do amazing things if we let him. If we let him. Anyway, so we set about raising our son Patrick Henry. At 4 months old, my wife decided she would trust me at home with her baby, for a full day while she went shopping at one of those outlet malls where she saves lots of money. We make money because she goes to the outlet mall. So I'm at home with my newborn baby, 4 months old, for the first time ever. And one of the fears we had about Patrick was the fear of the unknown. We knew that he would never see and never walk and all these sorts of things, but we were worried about other things. How would he develop cognitively and, all these sorts of things. And one of the fears we had was Patrick, he cried so quietly at night. He didn't wail or scream, or it was just this soft little whimper. So we had the crib right next to the bed, so maybe we'd hear him crying in the middle of the night. But we worried as we went to doctors and tried to find out why Patrick was the way he was. We worried that eventually somebody would tell us that his lungs were underdeveloped and he didn't have enough oxygen and all these sorts of things. Well, that day my wife took off for that outlet mall for the day with her friends was the day I realized there was nothing wrong with this baby's lungs. He set to screaming and crying, and there was no stopping him. I mean, I was elated. Oh my gosh, honey, you should hear how loud your baby's crying. And she's obviously in a panic and wants to turn around and come back home. Anyway, I couldn't get him to stop. I laid Patrick up on the piano that we had in our house, which is another, as we call it, God incident, not a coincidence, but a God incident. This piano that we happened to have in our first home, laid him up there and he cried even louder, but as soon as I started to play, that was that. He was quiet as a mouse. Quiet as a mouse. This worked every time. He was 9 months old one day. I was doing this. My wife handed it to me, and there's a picture of it on Patrick's webpage, patrickhenryhughes.com. She handed this baby to me. I played 3 notes, one here, and one down here. 9 months old, this baby found those 3 notes and played them back to me, just like I had played them to him. Before he was a year old, he could play Twinkle and Mary Had a Little Lamb. And then all those years, you look back on your life and you see all these things, these miracles that God works in our lives, like Patrick becoming a star on a football field at a large university. But all those years, Mom kept pushing me to piano and violin lessons, and I objected and fought because I loved playing sports too, and it was always a challenge in my life, playing sports and playing piano and violin all at the same time. But all those years that Mom kept taking me to those music lessons, it was like, okay, here was God's plan the whole time. This little boy loves music, and I'm going to be there for him. And that's how we're not going to play sports together. We're going to play music together. And so that's how Patrick and I began a great father-son bonding, was through music. And it carried us from Taiwan to Italy and all kinds of points in between, this music thing that we have going. It's been an absolute blessing. So anyway, so that's how Patrick came to play piano. And what a gift he has, right? What a gift he has.
Thank you.
Now, Patrick went on, as you know, to attend the University of Louisville. He attended Jefferson County Public Schools. He took advanced placement classes, international baccalaureate classes for college credit. From kindergarten through 12th grade, 3 B's, all the rest A's. Phenomenal student. Went to the University of Louisville, where not only did he do marching band for 5 seasons, he was a full-time student the whole time. We traveled all over the place, sometimes 3 cities a week. Graduated magna cum laude from the University of Louisville. Phenomenal student.
Thank you. Thank you. But before you get too excited, I've got to tell you that my dad's been failing to tell you something. And that's that I also had straight F's. That is faith, family, friends, and what many of us often take for granted in this country, freedom.
Amen. Those are some pretty good F's.
Thank you. Now, another story that I like to tell because it kind of surprises some people. You know, they see videos of me playing the trumpet in the marching band, or I come to events like this and play the piano and sing. So one would probably naturally assume that at the University of Louisville I majored in
music, of course.
But I was actually a Spanish major. As a matter of fact, I tested out of 2 years of Spanish and entered my freshman year taking junior level Spanish classes. So I've got to ask, por aplauso, ¿cuántos aquí hablan español?
I saw one hand go up. Maybe I hear a faint applause over here somewhere. So for the 98% of us that didn't react to that, Patrick, please translate.
I'd ask by applause, how many here speak Spanish?
Okay. So I think most of the Spanish attendees must have gone to another breakout session. What do you think?
Yeah, who knows?
Now your mom and I, Patrick, we're getting towards what I guess are known as our, I don't know, middle age, maybe whatever you want to call it, but we're getting older. And we're wondering with that Spanish degree how you might support your parents as we get up there in years, buddy.
Well, with the Spanish degree, I might pursue a career perhaps as a Spanish interpreter and eventually an international ambassador to a Spanish-speaking country. But as of right now, what my dad and I are doing is going more or less well, and I might continue in this field, perhaps as a speaker, performer, and recording artist. However, my true dream job, I would really like to become the host of a popular television game show.
Now this always takes my wife and I back a little bit. All these gifts and abilities, he speaks 2 languages and straight A students and music and so on and so forth, and you want to be the next Pat Sajak?
Well, you know, it would be cool to work with Vanna.
Oh, now I get it.
But you know, I've watched Pat do the Wheel of Fortune ever since I was little, and have loved the job that he's done with it throughout the years. The show that I have in mind is actually one that I've sort of created called Nashville Squares.
Well, Patrick, I am soon to be 53 years old. I've seen a lot of game shows in my day. I don't recall ever seeing a game show host, though, who used a wheelchair for mobility or who was as visually impaired as you are. But son, you have shown me over and over again in your life that if that's what you want to do, you will find a way to make it happen, won't you? Does everybody believe that? This young man
Amen.
Can do anything. It was a letter from St. Paul to the Philippians that rings so true in my life and in Patrick's life, and that is through Christ, all things are possible. And this young man is living proof. Now, Patrick has an incredible faith, even through the years as my faith has been challenged and tested, and I have ebbs and highs and lows and so on and so forth. Patrick's faith is phenomenal. He begins every day with Bible reading, and I brought one of his Bibles with you, and I say one of because this is one of 18 volumes in Braille that it takes for Patrick to read Bible, and he's got these next to his bed. So when he wakes up in the morning and does all his morning stuff, then he turns to the Bible for anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes to an hour, whatever he wants to read. And how many times have you been through our Bible?
I think, what is it now, 13, 14, something like that?
13 or 14. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands as for how many times we've been through the Bible. I won't do that to myself or anybody else in here. But anyway, 13 or 14 times, an incredible faith Patrick has, and it's wonderful to be a part of. Patrick has done so much in his life. He's recorded 2 CDs. One of the things I'm most proud of him for is that he wrote a book, as Mr. Montgomery mentioned, called I Am Potential, 8 Lessons on Living, Loving, and Reaching Your Dreams. It's a million seller, right, Handsome?
Right. We've got 1 million of them in our cellar.
Yeah, but he never stops.
Well, you know, as a practicing game show host, sometimes you have to do things like that.
Right, what is it you say? You have to have a what?
A well-organized head, a sense of humor, and a glib tongue.
Now, many of you all know, years ago we had a little home remodel done here in Louisville, Kentucky. Who's familiar with the show Extreme Makeover Home Edition? And forgive me while I check the time, because I have a tendency to go over, and I don't want to do that. Anyway, we were very blessed to receive that home, and the blessings continue even these 6+ years later that we're still there. An incredible home. And people always want to know, how did you get on that show? Who did you write to that your family would be blessed with such a gift like that? And the story is this: we never wrote to anybody and said, you know, woe is us. Our little 2-bedroom ranch that has a basement that floods 6 times a year is all these problems, and it's, you know, so on and so forth. We never wrote. My wife and I had our home, and we made our house there, our home there, and our family, and we were comfortable. I mean, it could have been better, yes, but that's just the way it was. We found out once it became obvious that we might be a family for this show, that they had heard from thousands of God's angels, not only here in Louisville, but all over the country, who had seen Patrick. And they had written the show and said, we don't know anything about the Hughes family's living conditions, but they would be a great family for your show. So the show actually wrote to me on August 3rd, 2007, and said, I'm a producer from this show called Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Perhaps you've heard of it. Would you be interested in being considered for our show? Now, here's another one of these God incidences that is just, it always makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. 8 months before I got that email on August 3rd, 2007, was when Patrick's story first appeared on ESPN and Sports Illustrated. And once those things happened, we started getting requests to travel and speak around the country. One of our very first, if not our first request, was to speak at a school district down near Knoxville, Tennessee, for their Teacher in Service Day. And we gladly said yes. You know, this was exciting to be able to travel, even if it's just to Knoxville, and share our story and meet these people. So we said yes in December of 2006. Well, then we get the letter in August, 8 months later, about the show. So I exchanged emails with this producer out in Hollywood who says she's with the show, and she's one of 100 producers that goes around the country and just looks for families that might be eligible for Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Now, she just gets us by luck of the draw with all the other producers. So after a few emails, she says, I need to talk to you on the phone for a couple or 3 hours. Do you have time? And I said, well, it just so happens 8 months ago I booked a job in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm going to be on I-75 for 4 hours on Monday. Let's talk then. She emails me back a few hours later and says, no kidding, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. She had no idea we were going down there. She said, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. Who are you going to speak to? So I guess maybe the next day or something, some time elapsed. I didn't check email every day. Didn't have cell phones then, I don't think. Well, we had them, but I didn't. Anyway, so I email her back the next day and I say, well, we're not actually going to Knoxville, Tennessee. We're going to be about an hour east of Knoxville. I can't even remember the name of the little town where 2 little roads intersect, and we're going to be speaking near there. So I thought that would be the end of it. Well, quite by happenstance, this producer that got our family, she writes me back and says, well, it just so happens my family's actually from a little town about an hour east of Knoxville. Find out who your contact is and write me back. I want to know where you're going and who you're speaking to. So I go through my old emails and I look it up and I write her back and I say, our contact is a lady named Brenda Dean. She's a school administrator for Hamblin County Schools, you know, in eastern Tennessee. This lady who got us just by chance out in Hollywood, California, writes me back and says, Brenda Dean was my 10th grade biology teacher. And I never thought coincidence. I thought God incidence. God is orchestrating all this. There's no way this could just happen. And I believe all of us in our lives, and it's not always as obvious as an Extreme Makeover Home Edition, but I believe God works miracles in all of our lives, and even when we don't see it or feel it, just like me. Patrick didn't join the marching band. None of this stuff happened until he was 18 years old. But it was always happening in the background. I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. I believe that great things can happen. I believe anything is possible. But a lot of times it takes a long time. We got to keep the faith, and we got to keep working, and we got to keep at it. And I love this conference and the challenges that we faced and the opportunities a conference like this gives us to share our faith and to enjoy being Catholic men together, and for us to be able to share a little bit of our story with you all this morning. Now, help me out here, buddy.
Okay.
Where are we going next?
Well, I guess I could go ahead and, well, actually, first of all, how much time do we have?
That's the key thing, isn't it?
I guess so.
I promised Patrick 2 more songs before we're done, so we got about 10 minutes, and then we'll put you at the piano.
All right, well, I guess one thing I'd like to say, something that we're very excited about is the book that Dad had talked about. We're actually really excited, and some of you may have heard of this. Christian Movie Studio is working on creating a movie based on the book. So, and we're not in it though. There's real actors and actresses portraying everyone in our family, but it's basically our family story.
So if you don't get the book, you'll be able to see the movie sometime at the end of this year. And they used real actors and actresses. We're not in it, so that's pretty cool too. Anyway, hopefully it'll be out the end of this year, if not 2015. I Am Potential, right?
Right.
You ready to play some piano?
I think so.
You got a couple of songs for us?
Well, if we have time for a couple more.
Do we have time for 2 more songs? All right.
Well, the next song I'm going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and do this now while I'm getting set up, just to kind of save some time here, has some words that go with it, because, like everyone, I have my challenges and obstacles. Maybe there are things that I'm asked to do that I don't want to do, and, I didn't want to go to classes all the time, or marching band rehearsal, or whatever the case may be. But during those times, whenever I'm faced with a goal and I look at it and I think, I don't know how I'm going to get through it, I have a great acronym that helps me out. It's the first 3 letters of my name, PAT, P-A-T. The P is for passion, patience, and perseverance. Because in order to achieve a goal, you've got to have a passion for that goal and be patient. It might take a while for your goal to work, so you've got to persevere, keep trying, don't give up. The A is ability and attitude. Use the abilities that you have, plus keep a positive attitude. And finally, the T is trust. Trust in yourself. You will achieve your goal eventually. But sometimes I need it's a little more than that, and that's where this next song comes into play. It lets me know that even if I feel that I can't conquer an obstacle, there is a greater power that'll help me through it. This is by country music duo Brooks and Dunn, and it's called Believe. Hopefully I can get my foot on the pedal. My fault. Old Beverly lived in that white house down the street where I grew up. Mama used to send me over with things. We struck a friendship up. Spent a few long summers out on his old porch swing. Said he was in the war, went in the Navy, lost his wife, lost his baby. Broke down and asked him one time, how do you keep from going crazy? we met. He looked at me and smiled and said, I'd raise my hands and bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. Oh, I believe. Years later, I was off to college, talking to Mom on the phone one night, getting all caught up on the gossip, the ins and outs of a small town life. She said, oh, by the way, son, old man Wrigley's died. Later on that night, I laid there thinking back, thought about a couple long lost summers. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. If there was ever anybody who deserved a ticket to the other side, it'd be that sweet old man who looked me in the eye and said, I raise my hands and bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. I can't quote the book, the chapter or the verse, but you can't tell me it all ends in a slow ride in a hearse. You know I'm more and more convinced the longer that I live. Yeah, this can't be, no, this can't be, no, this can't be all there is. Lord, I raise my hands, bow my head. Lord, I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to this than just what I can see. I believe, oh, I believe, I believe. Thank you. So do we have time for one more? Yeah. All right, I'll do this last one, but before I do, I'd just like to say that this song is very special to me. First of all, because the rendition of it that I'm going to do is by an artist who I admire, because he also managed to overcome and conquer a lot of obstacles, especially when his fame was just beginning to spread. But the real reason this song is special to me is because I always like to dedicate it to some of my heroes, and it goes back to the straight F's I mentioned earlier: faith, family, friends, and freedom. And when I think about freedom, the first thought that crosses my mind is that of our men and women in uniform, past and present, and their families. If we have any veterans or family members of veterans here in the audience with us today, I'd just like to take this opportunity now to thank you very much for the service that you provide for this country, for making it the great country that it is today, and for making what we do possible. So let's all have a big round of applause for our men and women in uniform, past and present, and their families. And one more thing before I do this song, I'd just like to say that it was a pleasure to be with you. I had a wonderful time and hope that you did as well. Thank you and God bless. beautiful for heroes prove. Ah, liberating strife. Who more than said their country love and mercy more than life. But what I'm singing about is it's America, sweet America. May God thy gold refine till all success be nobleness and every gain divine. And you know, when I was a little boy, we all used to sing these words. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, far amber waves of grain, far purple mountain majesties. Ah, above the fruited plain. Oh, wait a minute now. I'm talking about America. America. My God done shed his grace on thee. Ah, yes, he did, and he crowned thy good. He told me he would. Said with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. All right, y'all, help me out with now. Oh, beautiful, far spacious skies, forever waves of grain, far purple mountains majesties, above the fruited plains. America, America, my God done shed his grace on thee. Oh, don't you remember now? He crowned thy good, said with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, thank you, Lord. Shining sea. Thank you very much. God bless. Thank you.
So I've got just a couple of minutes. I want to thank you all for your time and attention. Patrick, wonderful job on the piano as always, son. I love you. We sounded.
Thank you.
By the way, if you want to learn more about Patrick or share his story with others, PatrickHenryHughes.com is a great place to start. Or if you want more information, just put Patrick Henry Hughes in your Google search bar and you'll be inundated with stories and videos to share. They're all family related or rated, so that's very good. We'll hang around if you want to take time to say hi to Patrick. He loves to hug. If you're a guy and you like to hug, there's your man right there. He keeps counts of how many hugs he gets, so don't be shy in that regards. I just loved us singing together so much. Patrick, would you lead us in maybe 2 or 3 verses of Amazing Grace as we go on our way? Would everybody like that? That'd be nice. Let's all stand up and get the blood flowing, get those lungs working. All right, buddy.
Amazing grace, how sweet was blind, but now I see. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, he'll autograph him downstairs. Yes, sir.
Guys, some quick redirection or misdirection. If you're going to the cafeteria, look at your map,
Right.
the red area, go out that door. There's a lily over there with the red sign. There's a dotted line to get you where you're going to go. If you're going to the youth center, the yellow or blue, go out that door, and there are blue and red dots to get you where you're going to go over there. If you want to go to reconciliation, go out either of the two doors, find your way around the hall. There's a room downstairs, community room downstairs, reconciliation,
Yeah.
and plenty of
Thanks.
rooms up here in the hallway.